Man, I think I'd rather see The Rock and Emily Blunt together than hear you say give her the sauce.
Give her the sauce.
Welcome to the What's Up Verdict podcast, where we fashion ourselves cinematic judge and jury. My name is JJ Carter. I'm here with my co-host, Mattson Heiner.
Better red than dead.
Javier Ortiz.
What is up, my nerds?
And Ian Anderson.
Some shit.
We appreciate your help going on the podcast. Go ahead and hit that follow or subscribe button. Tell a friend about us. Check out our website, whatsourverdict.com, where you can listen to all of our episodes. You can also sign up for our newsletter to get exclusive content and updates, pick up some sweet merch, and interact with us. The question we always ask is if you ever find yourself wondering if you spend the time, money, or both on a movie. To help with that question, each week we put a movie on trial, discuss the facts, pass judgment, and let you know our verdict. Today we're reviewing Jungle Cruise. It was released July 30th, 2021. It's written by Michael Green and Glenn Ficarra. It's directed by Kwame Khaled-Serra. It stars Emily Blunt, Dwayne Johnson, Jack Whitehall, Edgar Ramirez, Jesse Plemons, and Paul Giamatti. It's based on Disneyland's theme park ride, where a small riverboat takes a group of travelers through a jungle filled with dangerous animals and reptiles, but with a supernatural element. If you haven't seen this movie and you want to avoid spoilers, now's the time to pause the podcast, go watch this movie, come back, pick up where you left off. If you don't mind spoilers, stick around with us because we're getting ready to spoil the shit out of this thing.
So for the common folk who can't afford to go to Disneyland and ride the ride, there's no supernatural part of the ride.
Sure. No,
Well,
that's
like,
I think they were trying to say in that is that they added with a supernatural element.
Cool. I just wanted to clarify.
Had to spice the ride up a little bit.
Now, I've never been to Disneyland. I've been to Disney World a few times because I grew up in the East Coast, but I've never
been to Disney World.
Disney World's cool. It's very
I have been to both. Guess I am not a common folk.
I could say I'd been to neither. I'm not really a common folk.
Poor people. Love them. This is the funniest podcast joke to me right now.
I don't even know how it got started other than Mattson saying the common people.
Let them eat cake.
Good God.
I think it came from for me because everyone, like I said, in our spoiler free, most of my family they were like, do you like any movie? Like, do you give any movie like a 4 or 5 or any movie that's up there? And I'm like, yeah, they're there. But it just seems like everything we've watched lately has just been very underwhelming.
It's fair.
2020 ruined us because we will accept anything as a movie. So long as it's out, we'll watch it.
Yep.
And they know that.
I mean, the crazy part is most of the movies we've watched in 2021 were scheduled for 2020 release. So it's not like
that's why the pandemic, it's a conspiracy from Hollywood. Hollywood fucked us over 2020 so that they could give us shitty movies and we wouldn't complain that much.
Could be.
That's why they're so disappointing, is we did wait for them so long.
Oh, fuck. That could be a part of it, too.
I'll say there's some movies I'm excited for, like Top Gun, James Bond, Dune. We'll see. Jury's still
Dune
out. Maybe it saves us. But just so our listeners know, if you didn't chime into the spoiler free, this movie was not that great. I wouldn't say it was super bad. It was just kind of like meh. It was a money grab. Put Dwayne Johnson, The Rock in it, put Emily Blunt in it, and get people to come pay $30 on Disney after you already pay a monthly subscription. You freaking robbing from the common folk over here, people. Just let me watch the damn movie if I've already paid for the subscription. Like, why we got to go out and rob my pockets some more? I understand that it costs me less to watch it at home, especially if I'm watching with some friends. Just everyone Venmo $5 is pretty cheap. But still, at the same time, it's a pain in the ass. And just I paid this for the subscription. Let me watch the damn movie.
But then they don't pay their actors either based on what we're paying that $30.
Apparently not. So, like, you might as well just get Zack Snyder to do your next movie.
Nope.
Freaking
Netflix has got him.
Dude, yeah, you get Zack Snyder, you get M. Night, and you get Lin Miranda.
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Those 3 guys, those are the only 3 people you need to make a movie.
Just got to drop those names.
No, I mean, you literally don't need another soul. They will handle everything.
That's fair. No, I do have to tell a quick funny story before we actually talk about the movie we're reviewing for this podcast. When we went to see last week, when we went to see The Protege, there was a preview for some cute little cartoon that Javier seemed really excited about. And I was laughing, and I leaned over to Ian, and I said, he's going to be really pissed here in a second. And
wait, what was it?
I don't remember the name of the cartoon.
It was like the one about music and everybody had like a talent or something.
Yeah. They're like in somewhere in Central or South America.
Sing.
Yeah, it's a new Disney Pixar movie, right?
Oh,
yeah, it's a new Pixar, and everybody's got like a talent, and they're talking about everybody in this town, and it's got the big burly chick that's holding up like
I remember that
carts with her one in each hand or whatever, and it looked really cute and funny.
Oh, yeah.
And I leaned over to Ian and I said, and Javier's getting all excited about it. I can hear him over there talking. He's like,
I just love some South American representation, you know?
Yeah, he's getting all excited, and then I leaned over to Ian and I said, he's going to get really pissed here in a minute because I'd seen this preview already, and all of a sudden he's like, well, why? I'm like, just watch. That's all of a sudden songs written by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and you hear Javier go, God damn it.
The movie's called Encanto.
Yeah, there you go.
I actually was like, had a twinge of like, this music sounds a little too familiar. And then his name popped up. I was like, son of a bitch. I can't get away from this guy.
I laughed so hard. So hard. Anyway, so Jungle Cruise. Yes, I agree completely with the assessment that this is 100% a money grab. Let's throw a couple of big stars in the title card, and then make it about another movie or about another ride at Disney, and let's see what we can do. And the thing is it worked for him. When it comes to making money, it worked. But the movie's not that good.
It just seemed like there were no bad ideas with this movie. Like they were just spitballing, and they only did it once, and then they made a movie out of it. Like we have this ride. Where do we want to take this? And they're like, how about? So obviously it's in Brazil because the Amazon. They're like, great. And obviously there's Spanish conquistadores, like, of course. And obviously one is covered in honey. Definitely. And it's just like ideas like that the whole way through. And they're all bad ideas.
My big problem with this movie is, Javier, you're right. There was a lot of shit that didn't make any sense at all. There was really like, what, okay. And then there was even worse parts that were so predictable that I was like, okay, I know how this movie ends already. Like, it's so insane. But there were some funny parts to it. Like, I laughed at the fucking jungle cat sneaking out of the little cage thing on the dude's bed while he's primping himself or whatever. Like, and I don't know why I laughed at that, but I chuckled. I was like, okay, that was pretty clever. And I think maybe because I put my kid hat on, because it's a Disney movie that was obviously designed mostly for kids, though it was very dark and had some seriously deep sexual innuendo at some points in this movie. So,
yeah, that was kind of weird.
What did I miss?
After there's a conversation between the brother and The Rock about how the brother's gay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
And then after that, there's this conversation, and I don't even remember. Like, I was trying to think about it today for the podcast, but there was a conversation that Casey and I both were watching this going, this is dirty. Like, it was, and they kept going with it. Like, there were
what was
3 times. Something the brother was saying to The Rock about, like, sitting on something, or like
it was like working a lever or something. Because I know at one point the guy, I started doing this motion, and I was like, "Are you serious? This is a kid movie, and you're pulling this?"
Yeah, it was dirty. Yeah, and I know it's dirty when Casey goes, "This is dirty."
I went over my head.
Yeah, I must have not caught that.
Yeah, I'm amazed that you didn't, because it was bad. I'm trying to think of what the actual line was, because it was special.
Disney is so bad at this whole like inclusion and representation stuff. In their Marvel movies, they're like, look, strong, powerful females. And I'm like, you can make a movie where women are strong and powerful without forcing it. They can just be strong and powerful and be a normal part of the story. And for Jungle Cruise, you can have a man who's gay and be part of the story in a normal way. You don't have to make it weird.
Well, and you don't have to yes, I agree with you completely. And I think to take it even a step further, like, you don't have to, because I can't wait for the day that Disney has a character where they just say, I'm gay. Say the words. I can't think of one where they actually say it. That's a Disney movie. Like, even this one, he doesn't say it.
They like allude to it.
Yeah, he says like, I don't.
My interests lie elsewhere.
That's exactly what it was. And then, I was like, just fucking say it. Why is it so hard for you to just be like, yeah, I'm gay? Why is I just don't understand it. If you're going to do it, then do it. And if you're going to take a stand and not put it in your movies, then don't. But don't ride that line. Get up his pussies about it.
Maybe
Just
he was
either
into the
make a choice.
Jaguar. We'll never know.
Kinky. I mean, there are people out there that like that stuff. So,
all right, I got to do this. I got to be the person that talks about the end of a movie. The reason I think I have such a bad taste about this movie is just, man, the ending. Like, talk about predictability. Talk about, like, you just knew when she was walking away. And she's like, "Oh no, he's dead. He's never coming back." And then they flash to it, the emotion. You're like, this mother effer, he's coming back. That look, the what did she put in? She put something in his mouth, like the little flower petal or something that dissolved, and it didn't work. Oh my goodness. It was just so cliche it really annoyed me. Like, really, that part really annoyed me.
I'm confused too, because can't we just wait for another moon and the tree's gonna come back?
Yeah, it's literally the only two people on the planet who know where this thing is, and lunar cycles are just that, they're cycles. So,
you know what I would love?
Also,
I would love for a movie to get to the point where it's like, oh, it can only happen on a bleeding moon, and then not be like it's 2 days away. I want to hear like, oh, it has to be on a bleeding moon. Okay, well, you've got like 3 weeks, so I don't know what you want to do until then. Maybe circle the jungle a couple times, come back.
Training montage.
Yeah.
It happens once every 100 years, and music just happened last year. So you got 99 years. So I guess I don't know. You just
we don't have a movie.
But then it also pissed me off too that, like, okay, so you have a hard choice, right? This is the movie of nobody has to actually live with their consequences. I just want a difficult decision to be made and then not have everything work out for them. Like, they had it set up to where she had to make a choice. You either keep the one pedal and then go and use it for medical advancements, or you give it to The Rock's character and save Frank. You can't do both. And it pisses me off that she got to do both. Not the least of which because
the tree blooms again when the
you just have to wait.
Back. Yeah, that's fair.
It's a question of patience.
Yeah. I just hated that it worked out immediately.
Where were the German? Am I allowed to say Nazis on this, or do I have to say Germans?
No, you can't. It's only on the YouTube that you have to be careful.
All right. So, like, where are the Nazis doing what Nazis do best? Just destroy the tree. You get like your whole bloom, and then just knock that effer over. Like, that's what they do best. They always ruin good things. I was waiting for that to happen. Never happened.
These Germans were very like lackadaisical when this thing was like bloomed. Like, they weren't bum rushing this thing and just like hoarding these things in bags. They were just like, Emily Blunt, go get us one. I'm like, okay, those are not the Nazis that we all know and love. Yeah. Okay. Well, real Nazis would have taken whole branches down.
Did anybody else? Have you guys seen Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? Because for some reason, the like Bulgarian guy in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang really reminded me of this German villain, and I couldn't help but like hear him, the motor car, like, where is the flying motor car? And he has this like submarine that he's doing, and I couldn't take him seriously because I kept thinking of the villain in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Well, that's the other sad part, is I don't think they wanted you to take this guy seriously. But the other piece of it is this is a guy that's crazy enough to drive a freaking submarine into a river. Like, he's not going to stand there and have another character go get him his flower. Like,
and they're like singing, and he's like shooting his gun into the air. I'm like, what is going on? Also, the moon sets twice a night in the Amazon. That was a fun fact that I didn't know about.
And let's not forget that the whole reason that she was disappointed and got this second rose petal or got this flower, gave it to The Rock, was because they were in love. That was the most awkward coupling I've ever seen in my life.
So weird.
Like, it was like,
I wish they wouldn't have done the lip thing.
Awkward.
JJ, I don't know if you caught this, but that's a quiver that's an arrow in your quiver as far as the argument about women liking older men. Because she hated this dude until she found out he was 400 years old. And then she was like, oh, damn, okay. That was the first civilized conversation they had.
Do you think he can have babies?
Who knows? If he couldn't, the flower...
Give her the sauce to have babies, I should say. He can't have babies, but...
Man, I think I'd rather see The Rock and Emily Blunt together than hear you say give her the sauce.
Give her the sauce. Yeah, that was a weird romantic pairing.
It was so weird. They had great chemistry as friends. Mm-hmm. But as soon as it became romantic, I was like, that's just weird. Because they came across as brother and sister style more to me than most of the movie. And so like when they start making out at the end, I was like, that's just weird.
It should have been The Rock and her brother.
Right?
That's a romance we should have had.
So actually, here's the romance I wanted. I wanted the weird German dude and the brother. Like when the German dude kidnapped the brother. And
that would have been great.
This banter, I was like, the brother's going to turn the German dude to the good side. I was like, this is going to be great. I even said in the case, I was like, I think the German guy's gay too. And that they'd make a fun couple, these two weirdos. I was like, I want to watch these guys in a movie together. That would be funny. But they didn't go there because they were.
The more we talk about the German guy and everything, this movie also made me think a little bit about Indiana Jones, where they tried to take some aspects of that with like the Germans coming in and then being more playful like they did in Indiana Jones. So not only was it pirates and Indiana Jones, and to me a little bit of Jumanji in a sense as well. Like they're just trying to bum off all these movies.
It was a weird movie. And can I ask, the villains show up? Okay, first of all, I have a problem. Nowhere. Okay, let's back up. How did the German guy know where to find these other conquistadors when it is later said?
Good point.
That the Rock's character Frank said he was the only one that knew where they would be. He didn't map out where they were. So how did this guy know? Because he backtracked and went and found these guys. How did he know where to find them? That was never explained. Bothered the shit out of me. Thing number 2, why did these guys have the powers they have? I understand the snakes, kind of, because there's snakes in that jungle. That's one of the things it's known for. We didn't see a single bee before that other guy showed up. The tree guy I get because they were in the jungle being held by tree roots. But the mud guy, that's the whole point. They were dried out stone guys. There was no mud. Where do these guys' fucking powers come from? Like, it's like you said, Javier, that they just go, what are some cool things we can make happen? Oh, I know what would be funny. This guy keeps licking his own fingers because he's covered in honey. That shit's hilarious. Let's make him a walking beehive.
I actually don't get the powers, period, because that wasn't part of the curse. So you just develop these powers if you're just sucked into an Amazon wall for long enough?
Because I wondered, where's the Rock's powers?
Yeah.
Is it just because he was never frozen in the jungle, he didn't get powers? That's bullshit.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
I think the Rock gets screwed over even more because how do you build the town and you end up the person that can't even get an engine for your own riverboat?
That's fair.
He should have been like the Paul Giamatti character, like owning all the riverboats. Like he literally built this town.
I feel like movies always make people poor like that. And you're like, no, like he would be a kingpin at that point.
So I know I mentioned this on the spoiler free, but The Rock is Spanish. He's a Spaniard, right? That's correct, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's part of a Spanish conquistador. I mean, they put a weird, awkward beard and some curly hair on him early on in the middle of the movie.
What was that about?
I was thinking, okay, let's make our Polynesian friend Spanish.
For all of those, like all those guys like me who are losing their hair, even an immortal loses his hair. So don't feel bad. So The Rock, like, obviously doesn't speak Spanish, but he, at one point in the movie, he structures a sentence incorrectly. So like, yeah. So I forget what the line was, but it's basic. Like there's no one checked this. No one fact checked this dude's Spanish or the lines or whatever. So he speaks Spanish with a terrible accent and incorrectly. So I'm like, that's incredible.
It was a Google Translate.
Yeah.
They just popped it into the script into Google Translate.
It's kind of like they took the English sentence and just translated it word for word. Like, it was bad. And then
terrible. And
then like no one speaks Portuguese.
Yeah.
In this movie.
I know.
They all speak English.
And why the hell does The Rock have a perfect American accent when he's a Spaniard that's been living in Brazil.
Where did he learn that? What? When would he have? When would he? I can't, dude.
I mean, even Paul Giamatti had an accent of some sort. Like, what the hell?
Maybe The Rock doesn't do voices. He says in his contract, "This is the way I speak, and you're going to pay me my money.
Take it or leave it, bitches." And they're like, "We'll take it."
That's fine, but change your story or hire a different actor. Like, you can't have the cake that the poor people want to eat and eat it too. Like, you just can't.
Nice. Combining the two. Love it.
Exactly. You can't do it because it's silly when you start to think about the fact that this dude is a Spaniard who's lived for 400 years in Brazil, but has a perfect American accent. What the hell? And it's not like we're in modern times. We're in the 40s, the 1930s and 40s. How it's not like
where would he have picked up an American accent?
It's not like a bunch of Americans are traveling and hanging out with this dude for the last 400 years. Where does he get that? It's because The Rock can't do it, but they still wanted The Rock to headline this movie.
I would be insulted, but it's Spaniards. I'm like, fuck the Spaniards, you know?
I mean, it's terrible that he fucked up one simple line in Spanish, though.
It's like 3 words too. And I can't remember what it is, but I listened to that. I was like, "But you have to cast speak Spanish, like the actual like Spaniards. They speak Spanish.
Yeah,
they don't speak Spanish like Spaniards do.
Well, no, it's because he's not a Spaniard.
Right. None of them are Spaniards, so. But they all speak Spanish, and so no one in this whole cast and crew was like, "Yo, you're saying that wrong." Crazy.
Yeah, how does that happen? Because I'm sure Edgar Ramirez was somewhere in the room, right? Like,
yeah. And I looked it up. I'm like, maybe I'm doing it wrong, right? Like, there's no way this happens. And so I'm just looking up. I'm like, in what world can you structure a sentence like this in Spanish? And the answer is in no world.
Yeah, because Edgar Ramirez, the villain, the main-ish villain, the main cursed villain, is from Venezuela. So. Yeah, he probably speaks perfect Spanish.
Yeah, they all did. They had great accents. Not Spanish accents, but like, you know, they spoke Spanish.
Yeah. Oh, it's terrible. Yeah. And, oh, God. I hate that I'm getting swayed so hard on this movie, but it's yeah.
It's not looking good.
It just doesn't make sense.
But to say this movie's anywhere in the stratosphere of some of the worst movies I've seen, I can't say that, but it's just, to me, it's a movie that copied other movies that was made to make money. And
okay, this is not even close to The Town for me, so it's got to be less than a 2.5. I
fucking hate you,
right?
You can't even be serious.
I'm 100% serious that this Jungle Cruise is less than a 2.5.
Oh God, yeah, it's obvious that it was a money grab, and it was obvious that I'm surprised, and I want to know, because I know The Rock hasn't done a lot of Disney movies. I guess that's not true. He did like that Tooth Fairy movie. He's done a bunch. Moana. And then I know Emily Blunt's like Disney's new main headliner because she did
Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Which was really good, by the way. And she did a great job. But I just find it really surprising that those two, The Rock less, because he did some pretty shitty movies early on in his career.
But this is bad even by The Rock standards.
It's true.
Right? Like, did you watch that movie where he is basically storming a skyscraper?
Yeah, it's Skyscraper.
Oh, is that what it's called? No. Real original. I bet you The Rock named it. It's like that is probably one of the worst Rock movies because it's another one of those no bad ideas, right? And this is like on par for that, like that level of like the storyline's not thought through very well. So this is bad even by The Rock standards, but not like out of the universe, right? Like The Rock is just known for just some crappy action movies. Emily Blunt, though.
Yeah, that one's surprising.
I am disappointed. Like as a father, I'm disappointed in Emily Blunt. I'm not angry, just disappointed.
Good actors have bad movies, but yeah, I mean, you can't excuse them for that, but they could have just said no and not taken the paycheck for sure. But I think the more the onus is on Disney for even allowing this to make the screen per se. But I'm happy I watched this movie over some other movies we've seen. I'll say that.
And it was called Skyscraper, by the way.
Oh my gosh, really?
I thought it. And the more I look at his filmography, he's made some really shitty movies. Like, yeah, it's pretty bad. Like, he did Rampage. Did you guys ever see Rampage?
Oh, Rampage was so bad. We did it for this podcast, didn't we?
No, we didn't.
Oh
no, but dude. Rampage was bad. He did Baywatch.
But you know, The Rock is a part of, I think, the worst CGI I've ever seen in a movie. Which was it, the original Mummy, or was it the second Mummy?
The Mummy, the Curse of the
that's
King or whatever.
It's like one of the worst CGI scenes ever in cinema. It's horrific. Not his fault.
He was in one of those movies.
I'll never forget that. It was so bad.
Yeah, the big score is the Mummy Returns, like the big scorpion thing with like his face on it, and his face looked terrible. Like even the purposefully shitty CGI of Ryan Reynolds' face on that big ass weightlifter was like a million times better than The Rock on this scorpion. It was terrible. Yeah, so he's entertaining. He's got some really great movies, but he does have some pretty bad movies.
The Rock, if you're listening to this,
yeah,
give us a shout out. I mean, you can just count dollar bills and say whatever you want to say to us, but make a better movie next time. Pick a better movie.
I just want him to tell me what he's cooking. That shit would be funny as fuck. Call me a jabroni, maybe. Anyway, you guys are probably too young for that shit.
What are you talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Are you having a stroke?
No. Those of us that were old enough to watch wrestling when we were younger and be adults to do it. Like, that's all his wrestling jargon. Yeah, he was a wrestler before he moved.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, I knew that.
JJ, you want to know something that's funny? My nephew that's up here, he listens to us sometimes. He saw us all on there. He's like, "Is that JJ? He looks old." I was like,
"Oh, damn, shots fired."
I was like, and then you put your hat back on or whatever. I was like, "Yeah, he's not like that old." He's like, "Oh, he doesn't look as old as I thought now." And he was like, he looked old for a second. I was like, "Oh, well."
Yeah, I am pretty old. I'm losing my hair. The rest of it's turning gray. I am old.
You're really not that old, though.
Yeah, it starts with a 4. That's all that matters. This movie's pretty bad. Well, I got to lean into it. So we talked about it in the spoiler free, but Ian, I'm with you. Like, I enjoy a good dad joke. So there were a handful, like in the fact that he just kept pushing it. But I didn't know, Javier, that those are straight out of the ride. They actually have all
a
those
lot of them are.
The
yeah.
I didn't know that.
And there was a lot of nods to the ride, like the hippo the fake hippo that bursts out of the water, like that's out of the ride. Yeah, the waterfall, seeing the backside of a waterfall, that's out of the ride. Yeah, so there's a lot of nods to the ride, but a lot of those jokes, yeah, they deliver on the ride.
Interesting. Yeah, see, and like I said, I've never been on the ride. I wouldn't know that. I didn't even know it was based on a ride until I started getting ready for this podcast. Like, because I'd never been to Disneyland and have no intention of going to Disneyland. So it was just never anything that I knew. But I had a good chuckle at a couple of the dad jokes.
Not going to go to Star Wars Land?
If I do, it'll be in Florida.
I did grab a couple of the jokes just because I couldn't help myself. And I think the one that made me laugh the most was when he was talking about how he had a girlfriend and they didn't see eye to eye because she was cross-eyed. But the best part is that he thought that she was seeing someone on the side.
Yeah. I love that shit. I love dad jokes, like just terrible jokes. Yeah, I love it.
I went and visited Star Wars Land, except I couldn't figure out how to get there. So I asked a Disney employee, I'm like, how do I get to Star Wars Land? And he corrected me. And he was like, do you mean, and then whatever made up bullshit fairy tale land name they have for it. And I was like, yes, of course that's what I mean. What else would I mean, dude? Dude, freaking Disney workers, like anyone involved with Disney, you guys are just pretentious pieces of shit.
I feel bad for like the Disney employees though, because actually like they have like a rule book. So one of the companies I worked for, we went to like Disney training.
I think I'm about to feel bad.
Yeah, you probably will. The book that these guys have to like follow the rules of is like huge. They're not allowed to like point with like one finger. If you ever watch, they always have their hands like all 4 fingers if they're directing you somewhere, because pointing's rude. And so you don't point. Like,
so is the seriously, knife hand. You don't just whip that thing out.
I know, but yeah, that's they have to open hand point.
Training.
the people that are in the like suits, they're not allowed to take that shit off ever where anyone can see them. Like
that I did know.
Period.
I actually know someone who's like a princess I think she's in Tokyo now. And like even their social media, they can't say I am the princess. They have to say like I'm friends with the princess or whatever, whenever they share pictures about it. It's weird. Disney's weird, dude.
Yeah, Disney's very weird. Hey, and to build on your jokes, I enjoyed the toucan one too. Drawback, only two can play.
I'm working at the orange juice factory. Got canned. Put the squeeze on me.
Put the squeeze on me.
I love how everyone groans.
When does a joke become a dad joke?
I don't know.
When it becomes a parent.
See, and that's why I knew who was it. Javier, was it you that sent that joke that somebody said about if you're Ian, or was it you, Ian? That if you're Ian and you have a daughter, you have to name her Lillian.
Oh, that was Javier.
Lillian.
I wish I could have named my dog that. If I would have known,
Lillian.
I would have named my dog Lillian.
Lillian.
Seriously, like I laughed like for 20 minutes when you sent that text. Like that was the best. Anyway.
Dude, I laughed for 20 minutes before I sent it to you guys. I'm like, this is peak humor. This is the funniest thing I've ever said.
Shit's the greatest. Something else, just an off-topic weird thing that really struck me about this movie, and I'm amazed that they got him to do it, was the really cool remake of Nothing Else Matters by Metallica that was like the headline of this soundtrack. I was blown away. All of the instrumental music at the beginning, and then there was like some throughout the middle of the movie, like the really slow, haunting music. That was like a reimagining by Metallica and another musician of the song Nothing Else Matters. Unreal. Like I was like
Metallica.
Yeah. First thing that Casey and I said when it started, I was like, ooh, they paid a pretty penny for that. Because Metallica's no joke when it comes to their music. But they did, like, it was written and performed and reimagined by Metallica. So I'm sure they didn't have to pay as much as we might think. But I loved that. Every time that was on, I was like, well, I got to get a hold of that. So the soundtrack was pretty cool.
I didn't know that.
Yep. So, but yeah, this movie's. I'm glad we watched Stillwater instead of this.
Oh
gosh.
Dude, Stillwater is way better than this.
Oh, it's so long though.
It's the same length as this movie.
It felt longer.
In fact, it might be shorter.
That's one thing I go into the ethos for all our movie producers. Longer does not always mean better.
No. Dude, do you guys remember that 3-hour Hulk movie?
Oh, by Ang Lee.
Yes.
He tried to make it look like a comic book.
Yes.
Terrible.
Awful.
With Eric Bana. I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick Nolte as his dad.
Yeah.
Turned into like the big, it wasn't, what was it called? Like anyway, there's a big monster at the end that he fought with.
What a terrible movie.
I saw that in a drive-in.
Yeah, dude, I went to theaters for that.
And I was like, oh my God, it's like 2 a.m. It's terrible. The movie just wouldn't end.
I love drive-ins.
Me too. I love them. One last thing that I wanted to see on the soundtrack, but I didn't hear it, was you guys, and you guys might be too young for this. You guys ever listen to Weird Al Yankovic?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Everyone's listening to Weird Al.
His song Skipper Dan that was about the ride. When I found out it was about this movie, I was like, oh, they missed out on putting Skipper Dan in this movie. Because that whole song by Weird Al Yankovic, Skipper Dan, is about the Jungle Cruise ride at Disneyland.
Huh. Yeah. I don't think I've heard that song, but
if you haven't, check it out.
I haven't heard that song either. Well,
it's funny as
the
shit.
fact that they can't speak a correct sentence in Spanish, it doesn't surprise me that they didn't know that song existed and was made for this movie.
All right, boys, this might be our shortest podcast in a while, but you guys ready to rate this thing?
I'll go first.
All right, go ahead.
All right. If The Town from Javier was a 2.5, which is just a travesty of ratings.
Yeah, it's catching on.
One of the worst ratings, if we look at the history of our ratings, in my opinion, ever for a movie.
No, that was the most honest rating.
No, just so bad. Anyways, I
think your rating of Stillwater might be the worst. What were you thinking, dude?
It's up there. That's up there in our worst ratings.
What did I give that movie?
Less than a 2.5, I think.
Yeah, I did not like that movie. I'm going to give this movie a 1.5. I think our listeners know I didn't have a lot to say for this movie, and I think that's really why it deserves that. It's a movie that had a identity crisis, that had dad jokes that didn't really work for me. I'm not a dad, so maybe they didn't land. I don't know. I thought it was a money grab. I think it's, again, if you watch it with kids, which I did, it was entertaining enough to watch with them because they enjoyed it. For our underdeveloped minds, let that be a key when you watch movies that are made by Disney. This isn't a movie I'll watch again. This isn't a movie that I'm going to remember pretty much anything about. So are there worse things you could watch? Absolutely. If you're going to watch this with your family for a movie night, I think you'll watch it and be like, watch that. And then you'll forget that you watched it like a week or two later. And I think that's where this movie sits. So a 1.5 for me. Looking forward to movies that have a stronger storyline and have a purpose, hopefully, in the coming months. James Bond, I'm looking for you. Like Thank you.
Kind of more
I was going to say, hold on. There. Stillwater had one of the best storylines we've watched in a long time.
I was just bored with the movie. I didn't say it had. If we go back and listen to that, I didn't knock it for not having a good storyline. It was just boring to me. It was long. Make it shorter. Make it like 40 minutes short. It'd been amazing.
You want an hour and 20-minute movie?
Span is kind of fleeting, right?
Well,
underdeveloped mind.
Beat me to it by like 2 seconds. All right. I'll go next. You guys have talked me down, and the fact that they fucked up a simple Spanish line, which I didn't know, but that's terrible to hear, like, especially in the fact that The Rock was obviously miscast outside of the fact that they wanted his name at the top of the billing of this movie. I'm very disappointed because I love Emily Blunt. Like, I think she's one of the best actresses of the current generation, but this movie was well beneath her, and obviously there's a contract there with Disney that she leaned into and had to star, and to their credit, they tried to make this movie fun and entertaining. Those two, their chemistry until they started making out was really good. When they started making out, like I said, it got a little weird for me at that point. But up until that point, I had fun with them. The bickering, the bantering, the fact that he called her pants the whole time, the shit made me laugh. And the brother was funny at times. Like I said, I wish they would have leaned in more and just had him call himself gay and be done with it instead of being all hidey about it. I mean, at least it's there. So it's not a good movie. If you're a child, it's probably pretty fun to watch. There's probably some scary parts, pretty exhilarating for them. For adults, unless you have kids and you're doing it for them, skip it. Definitely don't pay for this movie. If you already have paid for it, I apologize that we didn't do this earlier, but I'm glad I didn't watch it before now. With that said, I'm going to give this also, I'm going to give it a 1.5 because I still enjoyed it more than I liked The Protege, which I gave a 1. So this one's a 1.5. I won't watch this movie again. Even with my nieces, I wouldn't watch this movie again. I'd say let's watch something different. So, yeah, there it is. Javier.
Okay. I think this is a terrible movie. I think it's a pathetic excuse for a movie. It is haphazardly thrown together. CGI is bad. Storyline's bad. Spaniards or anyone in Spain should just be insulted by this movie. Like, if Matt Damon gets ripped apart for playing a movie in The Great Wall, I don't know how The Rock is getting away with this, but, cancel culture, I guess. It's just bad. It's just a bad movie. With that said, and I've been the most critical of this, I'm going to give it the same rating, which is a 1.5. I think I can see how people can tolerate it. So it's not the worst movie ever. I am against the idea that just because there are worse movies out there that it should be rated higher. I mean, there's worse things that I could do to my eyeballs, but it doesn't make this movie any more bearable. So 1.5. I'm not going to watch this again. No one should watch this the first time, but definitely no one should watch it a second time. And that's it.
And in my defense, I didn't score it higher because there are worse movies. I'm just saying I scored this movie badly, and I still sit by the fact that it's worse. So I have a hard time justifying them both being ones when I actually think it was a better movie than Protege.
I think that's more of a jab at myself because I do that. I compare movies all the time.
Fair enough. All right, Ian, bring us home.
You know what? I haven't asked in a long time. I feel like it might be a good thing, but I would love to ask Javier what he would rather do than watch this movie.
Alec will be so happy.
What would I rather do? I'd rather do Alec.
Yes, that is the perfect answer.
That's good. I'm trying to remember what I rated The Protege. I was trying to look up.
You gave it a 2
really quick because I want to make sure I gave Protege a 2.
Yeah, I gave it the lowest score.
That doesn't sound right.
we both gave it a 2. That's why I said it was really generous.
Wow. Okay. I feel like I'm having a crisis of ratings right now.
Yeah, I did too. I'm like, I should not have rated that a 2 because I didn't enjoy this movie less than I enjoyed Protege. They're equally bad.
I mean, they're on a par for pretty bad because they both have really great lead actors that were just in a terribly written movie. So
yeah,
that's fair.
With that said, I mean, I'll be honest, this movie did not keep my attention very well. It was kind of one of those where I'm watching it, but I'm getting other stuff done because the story isn't great. There's a lot of unanswered questions. I don't know how you build a town and not run the thing. I thought that was kind of funny, but I was very impressed with their speed and ability to change and remove engines so quickly. Because I've watched YouTube videos of people do that, and it's not like just crank it out. So anyways, that aside, I very much felt like this was, let's take Pirates of the Caribbean and put it in the jungle. They should have went back to the drawing board, come up with something a little more original or not done recently by Disney, because they just like to redo their movies. So, but at the same time, thinking of my other ratings, I might give this a 2, but just for the dad jokes, because I really laughed at the dad jokes.
Dad jokes for days.
And I'm always looking to add those to the running list of dad jokes. So yeah, I'm going to go with a 2. I don't have a desire to watch this again. My family wanted to watch it. Yeah, sure. I'll kind of sit by it and suffer through it, but I'm not going to seek this one out. So that's where I'm at.
1.5 and a 2. Pretty low ratings for this movie. And Ian, you brought up a whole nother problem. How the fuck did they steal the engine in 1940s and not get caught? Like, how'd you transport that from dock to dock?
I thought they had agreed with him to take the engine because they were able to take so long putting it in. So I didn't realize they were stealing it until the very end when they took off. Oh,
he owed
too.
The Rock owed him $5,000, right, for this engine.
Something he owed him a bunch of money,
which
because the weird bird Frank owes me money. That's
an insane amount of money for the 1940s, right? Like I can buy a car for $5,000 today.
I think this was like 10s, 20s. This wasn't because the motor cars that they had, these weren't, your 1940s.
Oh, were they talking about World War One, not World War II? Because they were talking Germans were the bad guys in World War One too.
Oh,
see, that's another thing. I didn't even know what time this took place then.
Oh. Yeah, it was World War One era.
That's true. He didn't even talk about the Reich or Hitler or anything like that. So
yeah, dude, they swapped out those engines like NASCAR pit crew.
Crazy. All right, well, there it is for Jungle Cruise. Skip that one if you need to. So next week will be Shang-Chi. That'll come out on the 5th of September. Keep an eye out for that. Go check us out at our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all at What's Our Verdict. Check out our spoiler frees on YouTube. Try to leave as many of those as we can for you so you know whether to go watch these movies and pay for them or not. Hosts at whatsourverdict.com. Send us an email if there's a movie you want us to watch. You can check out our website, whatsourverdict.com, where you can see we'll have a list up soon about what the rest of September will include to keep up with the movies we're reviewing. So, yeah, do that. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye-bye now.
Cinemagic out.